This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now.
Yo, what is up? 24/7 Buff Pandemonium, Bills Mafia. It's your boy Swank, host of Sunday Sessions, and right beside me, Mr. Ryan Thomas of the Thomas Take Sports podcast. Say what's up, Ryan.
What's going on, Bills Mafia? We got a big one today. I'm pretty pumped up to be here. It's always fun to join you, Swank.
Ah, man. I love you, man. Love you like a 24/7
Yeah.
brother, man.
Yeah, 24/7 bros.
Speaking of 24/7 bros, you might notice we're down Scott. Scott had some family stuff going on, so you're going to get all Thomas, all Swank, all the time. It's going to be a great half hour. Get you ready for this game. Now, we'd like to remind you to please follow 24/7 Buff Pandemonium on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, anywhere that you want. Thanks so much for sharing and supporting. It's a great time. So we got a 4:25 kickoff today in Kansas City, the land of barbecue, and unfortunate playoff losses for the Buffalo Bills. First, first reactions, first instinct, first take on this game. What do you got, Ryan Thomas? What are you feeling like today?
This is the rematch of the century. This is what football is all about. This is a rivalry, a full-fledged rivalry, the best rivalry that the sport of football has to offer. I don't care about college football, any type of football. You could put any college rivalry to the side in the NFL. The NFL is king.
The
king
Tennessee
of football.
game means nothing.
Means nothing. Tennessee, Alabama means zero. You knew where I was going with that.
I did.
This is the game that everybody has been waiting to tune in to see. If you're a Buffalo Bills fan, last season was a heartbreaker. If you were a Kansas City Chiefs fan, you were jubilant, you were over the moon. And if you were indifferent and you just wanted to watch that game just to check it out, that's the greatest football game that you will ever watch
100%.
in the history of the sport. So this is the rematch of the greatest game that's ever been played. Unfortunately, we were on the losing end of it as Bills fans and as Bills content creators. We had to hop on and do our shows and recap that game, which was like going to a funeral.
Yeah.
The closest thing to it, I guess, in terms of talking about football. And I expect this to be a heavyweight slobber knocker with Josh Allen leading the trenches for the Bills and Pat Mahomes leading the troops, for the Chiefs as well. So this is going to be a battle in the trenches, won and lost. This is going to be a game that we're going to be talking about all season long, no matter what happens. This is that matchup that it's just special. These two teams are very special. They're very talented. And if you were to put these teams in separate conferences, Bills in the AFC still, and just by the stretch of the imagination, the Kansas City Chiefs are in the NFC, I think we would have seen these two teams play each other in a Super Bowl once, maybe even twice over the last couple of years. So these are the two best teams in the league. Let's go. This is what football is all about.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, this is the one we've circled, right? I mean, every Bills fan, we want the redemption. This is like, to me, the pinnacle of what it's like to be a Bills fan, right? Like all those years and all the struggle and climbing that hill, slow and steady, humble and hungry, trust the process. Here we are. And we've been there knocking on that door for 3 seasons. And God, we got to do it today. I feel like not so much that we got to, we should. And we have the capability, and we have this extra bump with Von Miller, that leadership in the locker room. You got Josh Allen. These things have all just built up to this day. And retribution, man, payback. People in the comments been saying it. It's just time. They are a dominant force, and they can inflict their will on any team they want. And today, it needs to be this team. This is Goliath.
It is. And I'm happy to, debate, who are the best quarterbacks in the NFL. But I think you just look at these last 2 years and you look at that one game on that one night between Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes. Nobody, with the exception of Tom Brady, could go drive for drive, toe to toe, to take a combat sports phrase, the way Josh Allen did that night. That was the best game that Josh Allen ever played in his entire life up until these past few weeks of this season. It's like Josh Allen's actually picked up where he left off from that AFC divisional round and picked it up, heading into this season in these last few weeks. I mean, last week was just a one-sided pounding, and Josh Allen was swinging the hammer, firing it anywhere he wanted to fire it, frankly. And both of these guys have that ability at the snap of a finger to do that. Pat Mahomes, again, proved it against the Raiders. They're down and out in that first half. And with the snap of a finger, Pat Mahomes can just change the entire game. So they're the only two quarterbacks that can do that in this league. You can talk about Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow. Those are like the, Big Ben to what Tom Brady and Peyton Manning were. Those are the outliers. They're great, but they're not all-time great like these two. And when these two are going against each other, special things happen. And I think it even goes back to not just the AFC divisional round, but the AFC championship game. We saw what we knew was to come between these two guys. This is just a rivalry that I think really sets it apart for the end of this era. This is going to set itself apart right here.
Yeah, I mean, you said it, man. This is the new Brady Manning. It's been said, but it absolutely is. Everybody looks forward to these two facing off against each other, just like we did with the Colts and the Patriots, and the Colts or the Patriots and the Broncos. And it's fascinating to me that as young as these two dudes are, and their paths in the NFL, like how different they've been treated by like the media in the beginning parts of their career, and B, just like how they've arrived and there's no question. That's like, I mean, 5 years in the NFL is a long time in NFL years, but for the casual viewer years, it's like, it feels like Josh just got in the league. It's like, it's new, but it's like comfortable all at the same time. And I don't know. I'm looking so forward to watching these two go head to head for like the next 12 to 15 years.
and knowing that we got one of those guys,
yeah.
Like knowing that's another, cherry on the sundae. But I would honestly say, Muhammad Ali needed Joe Frazier. Joe Frazier needed Muhammad Ali. Mike Tyson needed Lennox Lewis. Like there's rivalries where one would not be what they are without the other. And Tom Brady wasn't going to be that rivalry for that rival for Pat Mahomes, because Tom Brady, despite pushing the odds and playing at the age of 45, he's going to be done soon, right?
Yeah.
Pat Mahomes needed somebody that would almost be a similar quarterback to him, but not quite. He's got to have that next level that Pat Mahomes might not have. And we know what that level is. We can't even put a word on it. You could say toughness, you could say grit, you could say heart. All those would fit. But Josh Allen just has this eternal dog that's inside of him that just makes the guys around him want to run through a brick wall for him. Guys that could be only playing with him for these last 5 weeks for the first time. Guys like Von Miller saying, this guy is a real special player. Like, this guy is a real football player playing quarterback. So a lot of people,
Stephon Diggs, that God put Josh Allen in his path. This is the quarterback that you need. I mean, it's a huge difference. It's a complete game changer. I mean, I know the Kelly years, like, we were a little younger, and it was like kind of taken for granted, I think, when I was younger, because you're getting into sports, you're getting into football, you're used to the Bills winning, and then all of a sudden he's gone, and it's just like 17 years of turmoil, and then you get sucked into like, oh, well, I'm used to them like losing and not being very well, but like, it's still that heart in there, and just waiting for that hero. And then he comes, man. Then he comes, and it's like, oh my God, it's so great to know that position is set, barring any like craziness. My dog just went nuts because I knocked on my desk. That is set. I love it. Let's hit the inactives really fast here. The inactive list for the Bills came out. Not a lot of surprises, maybe one. Jake Kumaro, we knew he was going to be out. Balin Spector's out. Or inactive. Brandon Bryant's inactive, who they just pulled back up, I believe. Zach Moss is the big name for me on this list. We kind of talked a little bit before the show went live. And Justin Murray, offensive lineman. But Zach Moss, did Cook show enough last week to be like, okay, we want this guy in the lineup on a more permanent basis?
I think so. And I think this is one of those matchups as well where Sean McDermott is looking at who's available, who's unavailable, but kind of looking at, okay, how can I attack, or, and Ken Dorsey as well, obviously being the OC, how can we attack this Kansas City offense with the pieces that we have? That's a huge question. That's one that they obviously have to answer. But in terms of asking that question, it's like you got to look at what you have in terms of what you haven't really used a lot of yet, to show Kansas City a completely different look from what they're accustomed to from the Buffalo Bills. We can't just go out there and do what we did against Pittsburgh next week. We owe Kansas City a lot more respect than that, frankly. And nothing against Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh was horrible last week. I expect a much better effort from Kansas City than what we saw from Pittsburgh. So James Cook, I mean, we've talked about it on the show that James Cook is one of those guys that Devin Singletary can be that in between the tackles guy, and James Cook is that change of pace running back that can really make your defense look silly. And I think the Bills are going to implement a good two-back rhythm early on in this game to somewhat set the tone. And if Devin Singletary and James Cook are those two guys and they're very successful, I think we could come to expect to see those two kind of leading the charge in that way for the Bills' run offense.
I think that's an exciting prospect, right? Like, I mean, they train together, like Motor and Cook, and Devin and all that guy. Like, they know each other. I think it took Cook a couple weeks to get the groove of A, an NFL game, but B, this offense, right? And now you kind of saw what he's made of last week. He didn't drop a ball. He didn't fumble. He protected, and he scored. And there were some good-looking runs, and he's fast.
He's very fast.
It's
he's got great hands too.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing in terms of changing pace. Out goes Singletary to the sideline. James Cook comes in. They're in single back or they're in shotgun. It could be a draw. It could be a halfback dive, or it could be he's going out into the flat and Josh Allen will find him. So I'm really excited for that today. I hope we see a little bit of that peppered in.
Confusion is key, and I was talking about it on the K-Gun on Tuesday. Their defense isn't like anything to write home about right now. Jones is playing today. Our boy Rob Mullen put that out in the comments, and thanks to everybody. Keep the comments coming, and we'll address any questions you got. Jones, yeah, he's playing. They're like a bottom third defense right now. We were talking a little bit about the Raiders game. They let them hang in for 1 point. Like that's one 2-point conversion away from not being a win for them.
Right.
I think there's a lot to be had there, and we always talk about Allen versus Mahomes, but it's kind of like this race that they're never on the track at the same time together, right? It's always like this guy's doing his thing, this guy's doing his thing. So if we're going to the defense, and you and I were talking a little bit before this the show started here, as far as controlling and containing Patrick Mahomes, and what he does well, and doing that without a Tyreek Hill, what do you think that looks like? What do you think the Bills defense needs to do to get the job done today?
I think the simple answer is sacks, but sacks are very hard to come by in this league with quarterbacks as athletic, especially as Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes. It's more about it's more about Buffalo not allowing Pat Mahomes to look at his first read and get the ball out of his hand. It's more about forcing Pat Mahomes to choose who he has to throw the football to, and that's obviously in terms of coverage. Mm-hmm. And it's obviously in terms of Pat Mahomes has to be forced outside the pocket to make throws that he can make, but it's throws that consistently, when Pat Mahomes is forced to make throws that are wild, he gets frustrated because those are throws that most quarterbacks can't make. They're throws that he can make, but they're throws that he shouldn't have to necessarily make each and every down. So he gets a little frustrated when he's forced out of the pocket to run or to extend a play. He might enjoy it in terms of how it looks on the highlight reel. It looks pretty damn good, to be honest with you, but he doesn't enjoy it in terms of consistently having to do it, because that means that his offensive line is not blocking. If they're not blocking for him and forcing him out of the pocket, the run game's gone. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is irrelevant. Jerick McKinnon is irrelevant. That takes away that dimension and forces Kansas City to play from behind ultimately. And if you are Pat Mahomes these last few years and you were forced out of the pocket forced to throw from awkward angles and almost like a shortstop playing baseball, turning two or throwing it to first like Jeter used to.
Yeah.
You have a guy out there by the name of Tyreek Hill, as you mentioned, that could bail you out, and he'll run his route and then he'll come back to you. Based on his speed, nobody could cover that. Based on his timing of when to do that with Mahomes, nobody could game plan for that. There's no, receiver that could mimic Tyreek Hill in this league. There just isn't. So now that Tyreek Hill is gone, I've watched the Kansas City Chiefs the majority of this season. I've looked for who they are going to replace or how they were going to replace a Tyreek Hill. And the answer thus far is that they haven't. But they also haven't really needed to, because out goes Tyreek Hill, in goes Juju Smith-Schuster, in goes Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Out goes a receiver that's super small, super fast, quick, dynamic, and in come these receivers that are big, they're strong, they're physical, and it's opened up more opportunity for the running backs to catch passes out of the backfield, as well as a guy that every Bills fan should be in fear of every single week playing the Chiefs, Travis Kelce. Every team should be in fear of that guy. So it's interesting. To your question, I definitely think they can do far more harm to Pat Mahomes today than they ever have, because this Buffalo Bills defense, the front four, front seven, Tremaine Edmonds and Matt Milano today are huge. They have to be huge, and they've been huge all season long. When Trey was out, Tremaine Edmonds was out, it obviously we want to see him in there healthy, but when he's been in, we've talked about Tremaine Edmonds, over the years, and some of my frustrations with him in terms of instincts and coverage and stuff like that. I feel like he's playing his best football this year. This year is his best season that we've seen, and Matt Milano in coverage is one of the best coverage linebackers in the league. So front four pressure, forcing Mahomes to the outside, and adequate coverage with these receivers that I don't think bail out Pat Mahomes quite like Tyreek Hill did. And I think we're going to see that if we then force Mahomes out of the pocket.
Ooh. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Good
it
stuff,
is.
Man.
It's interesting.
It is. It's super interesting. And I think, my whole thing is, Kelce. Take Kelce out of the game. We had, was it Patrick Hughes saying, hopefully Tremaine Edmonds stays on him. I think you're going to see a lot of Taron Johnson on him. I think you're going to see a lot of different matchups against Travis Kelce. If you remember, like, Johnson was on him the majority of the playoff game, had a lot of coverages on him. And you got Matt Milano, you got Tremaine Edmonds. I'm glad that these dudes are healthy. One of my favorite pieces that's on this roster today that's healthy is Mr. Jordan Poyer, who is playing with a purpose this year. Not that he hasn't in other seasons, but this year is the prove-it season. The dude has missed 2 games and still leads the league in interceptions. He also got this challenge from Pat McAfee, whether it means anything or not, that if he gets 13, they'll donate $1 million to his favorite charity or whatever. But this dude is a competitor, and this dude is the veteran leadership. I mean, next to Tremaine, that's great. He's a young guy, a proven leader, and playing the best ball of his career. I would 100% co-sign that. Like, that dude is a beast this year, and I think this defense revolves around him. But you having a guy like Jordan Poyer out there to help out the youngins on the corners, I think that's huge. And a guy that we haven't talked about a lot, Damar Hamlin, man. He's playing out of his mind, filling a hole right now. Beating out Johnson for that starting job that we all thought for sure Jaquan Johnson was going to have. And Damar Hamlin stepping up, a bruiser in college, just a sledgehammer, loves to lay it on you. Like, I don't know. Even with all the injuries and the carousel, and this being the healthiest that we've been this season since week 1, they're still ultra competitive. That goes to the culture of this team. That goes to the leadership in this locker room, the coaches, the athletic trainers, all that. But this is just a group that can absolutely get it done, that can absolutely snuff out Patrick Mahomes. And I think the secondary will do their job long enough for that improved front four to land and to like you said, rattle that Mahomes cage, that Kermit cage. You know what I mean?
I love that. Rattle the Kermit cage. Yeah, because I do see. I mean, I'm a Pat Mahomes fan. I'm a Josh Allen fan, of course, but I'm a Pat Mahomes fan, and I've watched a lot of Pat Mahomes playing football. It's fun to watch, right? So when I do see, when I am watching a game, I want to see what's a kryptonite, what's a way, a quarterback gets a little irked, and that's something that definitely frustrates him because he has had foot problems over the course of his career because he's always throwing off his back foot, herky jerky, weird throwing motions. I'm shocked he hasn't had any more shoulder or elbow problems with the way he sometimes throws the football in comparison to other quarterbacks. But yeah, I agree with you 100%. I mean, with all the injuries that they've had on the defensive side of the ball, the Buffalo Bills have been able to stay one of the top defenses in the NFL, if not the best. And I want to give a shout out to Kyer Elam and a player that I think is going to be one of the elite pass rushers in this league 2-3 years time is Gregory Rousseau. Yeah. And it has to start somewhere. And maybe I'm a little bit facetious doing this a little bit too soon, but I think today could be the day that Gregory Rousseau, it's coming. I know it's coming. I've said this last week on the show, I believe, that Gregory Rousseau is going to have this game that puts him on the map, that lets every NFL team know who is this guy that the Buffalo Bills drafted in the back end of the first round out of the U that decided not to play due to COVID in his senior year. But prior to that, his junior year, he was second to sacks in the NCAA to Chase Young, who is obviously one of the best pass rushing linebackers and defensive ends in the league. So I just love the whole attitude of this Buffalo Bills defense, and I think it's spearheaded by Von Miller. Anywhere he goes, success follows, whether it's his own success or someone else's success, and that's not just a coincidence. And I think the positive vibes that surround that defense, it's like next man up, and those next men that do get the opportunity, they're relishing the opportunity because playing for a coach like Sean McDermott must be one of the most fun experiences that some of these athletes could have ever had or will ever have based on when their number is called. It's like their energy is always high. I never see low energy on the Buffalo Bills, no matter the circumstances. And that's a testament to Sean McDermott. And I say that because going back to your point at the beginning of the show, previous coaches, low energy, just kind of, oh, here we go again, all that stuff. That stuff does not exist with this team. No. I haven't seen it yet. So I'm looking forward to what we see today from this defense.
Absolutely. I think Groot is a fascinating pick. I've always loved him. I've always loved his candor and his work ethic. I think it's insane that the dude he only played DN for 1 year, right, in college,
right.
and putting up those kind of stats, taking a year off, and now coming in and on pace for double-digit sacks, playing alongside Von Miller. It's a match made in heaven. The dude's physical characteristics and traits are off the charts, and I don't know. It's just another perfect marriage, like you're saying. All the credit to Bean and McDermott, man, bringing these dudes in with the right kind of work ethic and the right kind of DNA, you know.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm excited for that. Real quick, let's switch to the offensive side of the ball. Is there anything special that you're thinking the Bills' offense needs to do today to get it done? What's that one thing that's really going to push them over the edge?
I think actually mirroring what Kansas City is going to try to do with their tight end, I think we need to get Dawson Knox involved in this offense a little bit more than what we've seen. I mean, Knox was out last week. He's back in this week. He's healthy, ready to go, per Dawson Knox himself in interviews leading up to the game this week. So I think Dawson Knox is a huge factor in this one. I know for a fact that Stephon Diggs is probably going to be double teamed, which could leave Gabe Davis. But if I was Kansas City, picking who to double team between Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis is literally like, drinking oil or acid. It's neither one is good for you. So you're going to have to cover somebody. And I think it's going to be very tough. Someone is going to be left open, which is, to my thought earlier, possibly James Cook, possibly in the passing game could be a big factor. But I think Dawson Knox is going to have a real good day today.
those were my initial instincts as well. He's going to have one of those breakout days. He seems to always have a day against the Kansas City Chiefs. Josh always seems to find him during those clutch moments. I really want to see him break out. I also have him playing in fantasy, but I really do want to see him break out. I want to put to rest all these, like, get your contract kind of rumors or that feeling that's, like, looming, got paid, and now whatever. I think really the story is just injuries and, you need to have that opportunity. You need to feel your best to play your best. So I think today's that day. 100% agree with you. I'd also like to see what happens between McKenzie and Shakir and that kind of, like, snap count. And, they're both good to go today. Who knows? I'm wondering if that jet sweep is going to make an appearance today. It seemed like they kind of went away from that a little bit last season. McKenzie, it's a guaranteed 7 to 10 yards every time he gets it. He's a fast little dude. So it'd be interesting to see if that's going to get going. And let's see what happens with this run game, man. Motor is no joke. Motor is a solid, consistent runner. And the dude keeps his feet churning, gets those yards. He's tough. He bounces up. I think he's undervalued, underrated. Put that in there with a little JC, little Jimmy Cooks, and let's see what happens. So.
Yeah, I would love that. That's for sure. All the above.
All the above. All right,
Khalil Shakir is a stud. I just love the kid.
He is. Can you
He's so
imagine?
good.
I mean, for years to come, keep all these dudes happy in the way Bean arranges all the money and everything. But to have him and Gabe, continuing to follow up through well past when Diggs is gone and all that stuff. Obviously we all want him here as long as he can possibly be here. But just to know the quality and the depth, and he was a gem. They stole him.
Gem. So, diamond in the rough.
Diamond. All right, man. Let's get into some score prediction, a little bold prediction. We'll get out and let you guys get ready for this game. What do you got for a score prediction there, Ray?
So I am going to say score prediction for this game. I think the Buffalo Bills are going to score 35 points to Kansas City's 21. And I see the game being a close game. I actually see the game being a defensive one in the sense that some people have this score being in the high 30s or low 40s or even high 40s between both of these teams. I don't think so. I do see both teams being prepared in certain instances in this game to where a drive might stall or a drive or two might stall. But ultimately, I think Buffalo's going to have the lead 28-21, and there's going to be a defensive takeaway from the Buffalo Bills defense that goes back to the house, or at the very least close to the house of the Buffalo Bills end zone for the game. So that'll put us away 35-21. The Bills move up to 5-1, number one seed in the AFC. Kansas City Chiefs fall down to 4-2. And people can finally stop making a joke out of Josh Allen losing a coin toss.
Yeah, right.
Because, yes, it was a joke. We get the joke, but Josh Allen won that game. He did everything he needed to do to win that game, and he's going to do that again today.
How different it would have been. I don't know. I don't like to live in the past and the what ifs and all that stuff, but 13 seconds. And a coin flip, man.
You turn the greatest game of Josh Allen's life into a punchline. It's like, come on, guys, be respectful.
Absolutely. All right. So my score prediction today is going to be 34-24. I believe that it'll be what it is. I'm hoping the Bills' offense outpaces the Chiefs' offense. I know that the Bills are going to be able to pull away because the defenses are not equal. These are not equally matched defenses. We got two stud quarterbacks going against with high-power offenses, but the only difference is, to me, the defense. And I think you're going to have a lot of dudes that have missed a little bit of time over these last couple games coming in fired up. You got a lot of people that were there on this team last year that do not want to see this as a repeat. They're going to go in fired and ready. I know there's a lot being made of how many times the Bills have played an Arrowhead over the last couple seasons. And, obviously I want the Chiefs to come to Orchard Park as bad as anybody else. But I don't think anybody's ever, just stepped back and thought the amount of times the Bills have played there, that's all experience. Like they know what to expect when they're stepping in there. They've seen the crazy, they've seen the loud, they've experienced it. They've experienced the lowest points in most of their careers in that stadium, and not by like, you know, a blowout, by a slim margin. You're that close. You already know what to do, what to expect when you walk into that stadium. You're wearing the same jerseys. It's going to be the same crazy dudes. Like, I think there's a comfort level of walking in there, which might be a little bit of a disadvantage to the Chiefs because there's not a whole lot of teams outside of their own division that have spent as much time at Arrowhead as the Bills have as of late. So
right.
I think in a weird, it might sound messed up, but I think there's just a little bit of a comfort level there, knowing like I know where my locker, I know what this is, I know what I got to do, I know the hotel, I know the bus route, I know blah 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 blah, I know what the field's like, you know. So that compiled, I think it's close at halftime and the Bills pull away and win it in the fourth quarter. At least in the last 6 minutes, you can breathe slightly easier. I think they'll be up by 2 scores by then. Bold prediction wise, man, I got to go with it. I know we've harped on it a lot today, but Dawson Knox, I think Dawson Knox shows out. I think he's got close to a 100-yard game, and I think he catches 2 TDs. That is my bold prediction for today, and I think it's about time. He needs to start catching up, get on pace for what he had last year. So. Yeah,
I didn't even necessarily give a particular, you know, sidebar bold prediction, but, you know, to kind of piggyback off of what you were saying as far as what to expect, you know, for Buffalo, I don't think they're going to have butterflies for this one. I think they're going to come out with fire in their belly, ready to play this game, and I think the defense will have a takeaway or two in this game. Whether it's a fumble or an interception or both, you know, I expect it.
I love it. And, man, I want Jordan to get one, man. Get close to that mill.
Yeah. Go get those 13 picks, Jordan Poyer. We don't have a problem with that.
No, not at all. All right, guys. Bills Mafia, 24/7 Buff Pandemonium. Thank you for spending your pregame with us. It is 4:02. I'm about to go get a fresh beer and get ready to watch this game. RT, I'm sure you're doing the same thing. You ordering wings today or what?
No, actually. I might get pizza today.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm thinking pizza. Yeah.
I like it. All right, kids. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you Tuesday for the K-Gun Report. I'm Swank. Go Bills. You going to give them a Go Bills?
Oh, we're still on. Yes, Go Bills. See, I'm so excited for this game. I forgot to say Go Bills.
All right. It's like just fucking. All right, guys, Go Bills.
This is a dangerous group.